And welcome back to redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. I'm your host Mikey, and in today's tutorial we are going to explore week number 2 of the Crochet Mystery Adventure that we're calling Who is in Your Closet. We're teamed up with our friends at freshstitches.com, and they're under the leadership of Stacy Trock, which designed this pattern for us today. So this is week number 2. We've already done the legs, so you should have those ready for you. And what we want to do today is that we're going to move up to do some more body parts. So let's begin to look at those next. So the next component we're going to work on is this fabulous arm and hand, all done in one component, stuffed as you go. You know, you just can put some, like, you know, make these into a clapper or something, but it just resembles some characters that we might have seen on television, haven't we? And so I was really excited when I started seeing the hand come together. It's almost the size of my own hand, and I was thinking to myself, oh my god, it's like perfect gloves if I only had 4 fingers. Or 3 fingers and a thumb. But I was really excited about that. So today we're going to explore on how to make the hand and the arm. It's all done in one, and it is stuffed obviously. And then we have to make 2 of these nubbly little things here. I'm not going to tell you what those are. No. God, I'm terrible for ruining surprises. But yeah, we're going to be working on these 2 components today, and then next week we're going to work on the body and the assembly to put everything together, because next week it's totally going to make sense. So without further ado, let's go down to the studio and show you how to make a hand and the nubbly thing. The following tutorial and all episodes of this Characters Crochet Along has been designed by our friend Stacy Trock, Amigurumi designer and author. We are thrilled to have the rare opportunity to teach and bring you a trademark celebrity character. Please be aware that the copyright and trademark laws associated to this character remain in effect. Your finished item is intended for personal use, gift giving, and or supporting your favorite charity. So let's begin today's tutorial. We're going to make, first of all, this nubbly thing, and that'll make sense in the next tutorial when you go to use it. So you just need to create it, and just create an extra long tail that we're going to use to sew. You just need a little stitch marker or something on the side to create this. We need to make 2 of these things for one character. So if you're making more than one, just make a few. And what we want to do is just start off with a slip knot, and I do want to use this color. It's an accent color. You don't want it to use the same color as the body. And what you want to do, and in actual fact what you can do too, is if you're not sure what color it should be because you're not sure what this is for, you can always wait to the next one. But you know what, take a chance. You never know what's going to happen with your creativity. So let's begin. This doesn't count as 1, so 1 and 2, so you have chaining of 2 there, and let's begin the next part. To begin, we want to come into the very start chaining of the chain, and we want to single crochet into that same chain 6 times, and it's going to cause it to turn into a complete circle. So that was 1 and 2, and just kind of getting it. The straggler, just kind of trap it in a position. This will be on the inside of the project anyway. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. And before you fasten off, or before you start going on, I just want you to pull a loop. Get that stitch marker up, and I want you to go underneath the stitch. It's like we taught before in the last one with doing the leg, and we want to come in and we want to start putting that in there so we can measure our rounds as we go all the way around. So let's move along to the next part. Going in the back loops only. Remember that this entire project we're working in the back loops. So there's 2 strings. I'll explain that here because if you haven't been following the first one, you'll get it this time. So there's 2 strings always, so we just want to always come into the back one, and this time we want to go 2 single crochets into each of those back loops. And there are 6 back loops going all the way around. That includes the stitch marker. So in actual fact what's going to happen is that you'll end up with 12 stitches when you put 2 into each, going all the way around. So if you're looking at the instructions and it says 12, that's what that means at the end. So 2 single crochets into each, and remember when you get back to the stitch marker you're also going to put 2 in there, and then the final one, the second one, is where you will put that stitch marker once again. So that was the hardest part of this whole thing. So let's begin. We are going to move up to another level. So 3 and 4 are identical to each other, and all you're just going to do is just chase it around with a single crochet again in the back loops and go around. So this will be round number 3, and then once you get to the stitch marker, just move it up. You can also too at this point, you can just eye it up as if you want to, if you just don't want to move it. This is only just going to take you a couple minutes to be able to make one of these, and just put it off to the side, and when we come back I'll have this done. So please do 3 and 4 single crochet all the way around, and let's then work on it from that point. So rounds 3 and 4 are now done. You want to make sure that when you have this, that these lines are on the outside, because if you go on the inside you will not see those lines. So make sure they're on the outside. As soon as you have your last stitch done, just pull up on the loop. I've already cut it, and we are going to use that to sew this to your project when you're done. You can also just take out that stitch marker if you want, and you need to make 2 of these in order to have a complete set for when we're working on it. So let's begin the next part of this. We're now ready to make the hand and the arm, and the hand and the arm is one particular unit. So it's just by itself, and we're gonna start off with the fingers. Now there are 4 fingers as you can see on this particular project, and what we need to do is that I'm gonna start you off and I'm gonna show you how to do 1 finger, but you have to do 3 fingers and finish them off completely just like you see here, so that they can be ready for when we need to work with it. This is just like the foot, but in its essential with the foot, what we had is that we had only 3 at the bottom, like this. So what we're going to do is that we're going to join only 3 of them together for a little bit, and then we're gonna join on another finger which appears to be the thumb, and just based on the way that Stacy has done it, it really does look like a thumb. It's actually pretty incredible. So I'm gonna start you off. We're gonna start you showing you how to do the finger, and then because I've already have these already done, I'm gonna be ready to go then to show you how to attach to make the final as we go. So what we're going to do is that I'm going to do is that there's going to be another finger. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put 1 aside and keep 2 out, because the third one that I'm about to, or the fourth one I'm about to make, is going to be joining them all together. So just don't be confused by that. But either way, you still need to do 3 in advance before you can even start doing the hand. To start doing the fingers, it's actually relatively easy. They are the same thing of the toes, but the only difference is that they're longer. Okay, and what I want you to do at the very end, we're going to create and keep these stitch markers in the final stitch, because what's going to happen is, if you haven't followed the first video, is that these will join together in order to form it, and I like to know exactly where this is. It's not always easy to tell, so you know, you're already there when you're finishing it off. You might as well leave in the stitch marker so it's easier for you. For your particular finger today, you're going to need a stitch marker for each one of them, and you're going to want to leave it in the project. So let's begin to make our first one. And we're going to create a slip knot, and we're simply just going to chain 2. So 1 and 2, and we're going to come into the very beginning chain, and you're going to single crochet 6 times around that chain itself. So around the stitch, the first stitch, the first chain. I don't even know what I'm saying. So let's just get this done. So 3, 4, and 5, and 6. Now once you get your 6, pull up a loop. I just automatically do it because I've been doing it so many of these things. So I'm just going to grab my stitch marker, and I'm just going to pull a loop through so I can see where I'm stopping and starting on these particular fingers. So let's begin. We're just going to start doing the next part of this in just a moment. Starting on the first stitch, again just like we have been with this whole entire project, we're working the back loops. We're going to put in 2 single crochets into each one of the back loops for this, going all the way around. So again, very easy. You know how to do this, and this is growing it out. Now these fingers are no thicker than the toes, so basically these are just extended toes if you really classify it that way. What you could do too is, if now that I say it in this tutorial, but you could have actually done all your toes and fingers, well most of them except for the final ones, if you would have in advance doing it that way. It's kind of how I've done the tutorial. Once you get your final one in there, just move that stitch marker up, and you're ready then to move on to your next revolution from that point. Okay, rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6 are identical to each other. We're just going to single crochet around, and so essentially it's a total of 4 rounds if you want to be really technical about it. What I also did for myself, just to make sure, it was like sometimes I'm like start second guessing myself, is that I keep one finger as my base, and then I just kind of cross compare it to make sure that it's not going to be a finger that's going to be way too long or too short. So again, please continues round number 3, 4, 5 and 6. When we come back, we're going to, I'm just going to tell you how to fasten off to create one of these fingers, but I'm going to keep the yarn on, because if you're on the 4th finger you're not going to want to cut the yarn, and be sure that every time you hit that stitch marker that you're moving it up so that you can keep a count of your stitches accurately. I've now just finished up round number 6, and I have already moved my stitch marker, and so I have a longer stitch marker now in position because we're going to start the remainder of the hand. So if you haven't finished your fingers yet, you just have to fasten off at this point, weave in your ends and make it really pretty. Okay, so there's no loose ends all hanging out, and leave in the stitch marker. Just cut the string, leave in the stitch marker so you can use it. So at this point in the tutorial, you're just going to go back and make your fingers. Okay, and you have to get to the point where this one on the hook now is your 4th, because the 4th you're not going to fasten off, but you're going to join it like you did with the foot. And so you just have to grab 3 fingers all together. So you have this one and then these 2, and we're ready to go and start to put together the hand. So let's do that next. Okay, so let's begin to do our hand. This is identical to the way that you did the foot, so if you're not new to this tutorial series, you know how to do this already. So what we're going to do is that we're not going to include this first one like we did with the foot, so we're just going to start single crocheting and count, and we're only going to count 6. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5 and 6. And stop. Now what you want to do is grab another one, and right where you have that stitch marker, that's where you want to go. So again, maintaining into the back loop only. Okay, and this is when the yarn gets kind of sloppy, so you're going to want to make sure you pull things nice and tight. So coming through, and before I finish it off, I'm just going to wiggle it and get these stitches, get the slack out of it, and then finish the single crochet. At the just like the foot, what we need to do is come back on it and just sew in between the fingers in order to bring them together. So we're going to start then, and that was 1, so this is going to be 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, just like this. Okay, so now we're going to bring on the next finger, and again where that stitch marker is, just continue to maintain it on the back loop only. And this time what we want to do is that you don't really need to count, you just have to simply just go around the complete finger like this. So just continue to go back loops around the finger. The 4th finger we don't add until a few more rows from now, so that it will look like a thumb. So I really liked how Stacy paid attention to that to make the thumb look more realistic, being further back on your hand, because you can kind of see that it is. So I really like that. I think that was really clever. So we're just coming all the way back around that finger. I'm also going to show you how to cheat the system, because your counts have to be accurate as well, but right now it's more important to get these all attached. Don't go on to any of these back loops that are already attached. So we're just now going to start over here and coming onto these back loops. So once I finish one finger, I just jump immediately to the next. I think what I might do in this tutorial as well is that once I get this round done, I think I'm going to go back with the darning needle, and I'm going to sew the fingers closer together like we did with the foot. I think I'm going to do it now because it's just easier to access, and I'll show you that in just a moment. And again, once you get to this next finger, you're just continuing to go along. It's really quite easy. And that'll conclude off this revolution. Once you get to the stitch marker, again you're going to move that stitch marker up. So I'm on there, so let me move that stitch marker up. I'm going to pull a loop, and I'm going to grab some more red yarn, and I'm going to just sew in between these fingers just to see how it leaves a hole. I want to just kind of fill that in now. It's just easier to get to it at this point. So I'm just going to fill in this whole area here. You can take out these stitch markers that are just there. So now here's what you have, and I just want to just kind of sew these holes to get more together that you see. So I'm just going to start on the inside, coming in like so, and I created a slip knot on the other side of this so I can trap it. Okay, and I just want to do my best to kind of sew everything together, and please do this in between both sets of the fingers on both sides, and it'll just work out a lot better for you if you do it now than it would be to wait. Even if you finish the later on and you think that there's more of a gapping, you can always correct it later as well. It's a very forgiving pattern in that sense. So continue to do that, and I'll see you back in just a moment. Okay, so I'm back and I have sewed in both sets of the holes that are currently in, and I would probably address the thumb one also earlier. She says to address it further on in the pattern. I just think it's easier to do it now than it is to wait, but there might be a method to the madness as well. So let's begin. We're gonna do rounds number 8, 9, and 10. There'll be 3, and all you're just gonna do is just chase it around with a single crochet on the back loops. So please do 8, 9, and 10 on your own, and when we come back I'll have that done, and we're gonna start then working on something else. So let's begin to let's see you back in just a moment. It's now time to do the thumb, and I've just finished up round number 10 and we're going on to round number 11. So I made the assumption that this extra finger goes on the side of where the stitch marker, in fact, but in actual fact it goes on this side. So what we want to do is that we want to begin, and as per the instructions we want to single crochet 18. So let's continue. So 1 and 2, 3, 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know why I'm dropping stitches. 8, 9. And that's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16, 16, 16, 17, and 18. And you see how 18 is on the final before it kind of turns around? So that means that my stitch counting is right. So what we want to do is then bring on this one here and join it just like we've done with the other fingers, right where that that stitch marker is in, and we want to join it, just wiggle everything nice and tight together. We're also going to want to sew in between to make it nice and tight as well, and just rotate right around this finger, going all the way around. So this is how you add in the thumb. So that was pretty easy, right? So it's going to get easier and easier from this point because the hand is going to get more narrower, therefore it's going to get faster and faster to complete. So really the hard work is really behind us as we're continuing along. So you're circling all the way around. Make sure you do not circle into any ones that you've already put into the front side of this when you came around. So basically one stitch for every single crochet that you're doing, to the back loop of course. So there's the final. Okay, and so that bring up the other hand, part of the hand, and carry on to see how this one left for there. This first one here is where we're going. So continue to go all the way back to the stitch marker. Okay, so we've just finished off round number 11, so this is what it looks like so far, and we're not playing any games anymore, so we're still continuing to go. This round we're going to start doing the decrease like we did with the foot. So it says single crochet 2 together and then single crochet in the next 6 stitches. So we're going to immediately start off with 2 together, just like we have been doing with the foot, and then the next 6 are by themselves. 2 and then 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then 2 together again. Okay, so continue to do that, which includes the top of the thumb area all the way around. And when I come back, I'm gonna just show you a little tip just in case you're off by 1 or 2 stitches at the very end, just in case you added or subtracted as you went along. I can show you how to fix it without having to frog everything back to the beginning. So I'm coming all the way back around, and this is where you have to adjust the pattern if you're off. So what I found is that I've just done my 2 together, so I'm already on 1, and I should have actually be finished by this should be 6. The stitch marker should be 6. So I've already done 1, so 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I have 2 extra stitches than I should have. So what I want to do at this point is that I just want to kind of space it out a little bit, but I want to put in 2 more extra 2 togethers in here to reduce the amount of stitches that we're doing. So when I put those 2 together, I just eliminated 1, and then I just want to do it again just a little bit further down. You don't want to do it all at once because you'll have a massive indent, but it's a great way to frog your, or sorry, not frog. It's a great way to kind of bypass the system, and you can keep your counts. You only have to do it this one time. Once you do it once, the rest of your counts will always stay in line, but it's a great way to do it. I actually had to do that on the original as well. I was off by 1, and because of that, it just, you know, you got to do what you got to do. So let's continue along, and we'll move up to the next round. Okay, round number 13 starts off really easy. 2 together again, and this time we're going to do 5 singles in a row. So that's your repeat pattern. So it's 2 together and then 5. Okay, so that was 3, 4, and 5, and then 2 together. So do that same configuration all the way around. When you come all the way back around, I'm going to do my 2 together, and because we have adjusted it on the last round to make sure that our counts stay in, I've just done my 2 together, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches left, which equals the configuration of doing the 2 together / 5 all the way around. So again, you only have to correct it on 1 revolution in order to make it right for the remainder of the hand. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and that's proof of that. So let's move along to your next round. I've got to move up my stitch marker, and I'll see you in just a second. Move along to round number 14. Starts off really easy again. We're still decreasing, and we're going to do 2 together, and this time it'll be 4 in a row. So 4 single crochets and 2 together. Please do that all the way around. I'll see you in just a second. I've come all the way back around, and now it's time for the next round, which is round number 15, and this time we're going to decrease again, so 2 together, and we're going to do 3 only single crochets in a row. So 2 together, 3. When we come back, we're going to take a slight break from doing what we're doing, and what we want to do is that we want to go back and fix the gapping. So this is where she would have done it in the pattern, but because I already did it down here, I just have to do it right here. You can see that there's a gap spacing going on here, so I want to make sure I get that before I continue, and it's easier to get it to it now than it is for this hand to be closed later. So I just finished off round number 15, and I just pulled up a loop like this, and now it's time to go back and time to fill in the gapping spaces. Now I've already done this one, so I've showed you how to do it. I just have one more. So you see it has to be done. As soon as you put that stuffing in, it will open. See? So you want to just get your yarn and just a darning needle, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So just I will do that, and I'll come back, and then we'll continue along with that, and you need to make sure you fill in these gaps and do this before you continue along with this tutorial. Okay, so I have filled in the gaps at this point. You could almost make a glove. Isn't that kind of cool? So now it's up to me to get the fiber fill, and we're going to start filling the hand in, making sure you really do get into the fingers. You know, just be tactile with it, just kind of using your fingers, just really kind of push it in. It's not going to want to fall in by itself, so you're just going to get a little rough with it and make sure that you stuff it. But again, once you have the first hand done, use the first hand's idea in order to get the thickness, because you don't want one hand much bigger than the other, and continue to do that, and you just want to stuff it to the point where you can still work with this. So you just want the stuffing to stop at the edge of the stitches that you're currently at. So let's continue to do that. So my hand is currently stuffed up into the line. You can see I just want to have it a little bit in so that I can work with the stitches without the stuffing actually getting worked into the stitches. So let's begin. We're going to start on round number 16 next, and round number 16 is really easy. Single crochet 2 together, and then single crochet the next 2. So the first 2 are together. It gets a little awkward once you get the stuffing in, just so you're aware. So I'm just going to tell you quickly. So the first one's 2 together, and then 2 single crochet, and then 2 together, 2 single crochet. So let's do this, and when I come back we'll start on to the next part. I just need to have this in a better angle for me to do it successfully. And also I do want to double check the thickness also. So lay them down and just kind of bend down. I think I got a little bit too much in here, but I'm not yet done this hand as well, so I might just let it be at this point and work on it at that point. So you know, you have to kind of judge it as you go. So 2 together, and then 2 single crochets. 2 together, 2 single crochets. Okay, round number 17 is the final round before it starts getting into the arm. Okay, so right now we have 18 stitches going all the way around. So this round here, round number 17, we're going to single crochet the 2 together. So the first 2 are together, and then single crochet the next one by itself. Okay, so 2 together, and then the next one's by itself, and do that all the way around. And this will then bring it to the point where you're going to start the arm next. Hard part of the hand is now done, and now you have a little hole, and this is where this comes into play. So what we're going to have now is that we're just going to continue to circle around and around and around unlimited times until you get to the number 17. So you should be able to count 17 of the lines. See how they have the lines? Just count those, and then what you can just do is that it's just easier than moving up a stitch marker each and every time. So rounds 18 to 34, which is a total of 17 rounds, are just single crochet just around and around. And what I would do is that as you get further along, just add more and more stuffing to the arm. It's just easier to do it as you go than it is to come back later, in my opinion. So let's continue to do that. When I come back, I'll have this arm completely done. And finally, when you get to the length you need, you just need to trim your yarn and just simply pull out. And what we're going to do is that we're going to leave this big string on, because that's part of the attaching to the creature. When we're ready, you'll also want to just make sure, double check with your other one to make sure that it is the length that you want. And what I can tell here is that one of my hands is a little more bloated than the other, and so what I can do is just simply just reach in with my crochet hook and pull some stuffing out of it. And you just want to keep pulling until you can kind of get it. It's easier to pull it out than it is to try to add it in afterward. So I'm just going to pull some stuffing to see if I can get it. I did this with the foot as well, as I noticed one was slightly off than the other. And it's amazing. You don't have to pull a lot of it, and it will just decrease it pretty easily, just like this. So I'm more happier with that, and I'm just going to use my crochet hook and kind of push the remainder of the stuffing back in. Don't you wish you could lose weight that fast? So anyway, so that's how I would be able to adjust it when we're ready. So that's it for today's tutorial. We'll join you next time when we have more free ideas coming ahead. So who is in your closet? You now have 2 weeks of clues. Have you been able to figure out what it is? Join me next week as we explore more of this pattern, because next week is the final reveal. Until then, we'll see ya. I love this hand, it's so cute.